If you open up the NASS or NASS crop spreadsheet, you will see a table that looks a little bit like this. Instructions are at the top of the spreadsheet. You have the ability to edit any of the data in the spreadsheet, but you really only need to edit the sections that have been filled in with yellow, so all of the yellow boxes as is stated in the instructions. So some counties that have acreage in the Neuse and Falls Lake and the Jordan Lake watershed will have two crop spreadsheets that they'll need to fill out this year. So one is for these crops, the NASS crop spreadsheet, which is only for Jordan Lake reporting, and the other is the FSA crop spreadsheet in their folder, which is for Neuse and Falls Lake reporting. So just make sure that you are filling out two crop spreadsheets if you are a county that falls into that category. And if you are filling out the FSA spreadsheet and you have fertilization rates that you've cataloged for different crops there, if things are fertilized similarly in the Jordan Lake watershed, you can plug and chug the rates for corn and soybeans, those major commodities that you recorded rates for in the FSA spreadsheet over in this spreadsheet. But you will have to put it in two locations, so just keep that in mind. All right. So all counties will have a blank column for crop year 2024 fertilization rates in their spreadsheet, and you will need to fill in fertilization rates for each of the commodities listed in the spreadsheet for crop year 2024. All of the data in your crop spreadsheet for Jordan Lake reporting is publicly available National Agriculture Statistics Service or NASS data. This year, crop data is pulled from the 2024 annual survey for corn, soybeans, wheat, and sweet potatoes. Tobacco and hay acreage estimates are no longer generated on an annual basis. As a result, I only update acreage for those crops when census data is released every 5 years. However, we're still interested in how tobacco and hay is fertilized in the Jordan Lake watershed, even if we don't have updated acreage information for those crops. So I am still collecting nitrogen fertilization rate information for those crops, even if there are not acreages listed in your spreadsheet. You also in your spreadsheet may not have acreage information updated fully for all of the different commodities, as USDA has not fully published all 2024 annual survey data. In the reporting process this year, I'm trying to coordinate the Jordan Lake reporting process along with the Falls Lake, Neuse, and Pamlico reporting process for all of the LACs under those strategies and counties under those strategies. So that has resulted in me not being able to share a spreadsheet that has all of the information in there because some of it hasn't been published yet. But I will be updating the spreadsheet as acreage data comes in from the USDA National Agriculture Statistics Service. So please do, come back and check this. So in this spreadsheet for this example, you'll see that there's 0 acres here for wheat. That is just simply because the crop data hasn't been released yet. So if you're in that situation, if you have one or multiple crops that don't have acreage information, just please move forward with getting the fertilization rate information for those crops because there will most likely be acreage information coming in, and we still want to know fertilization rate information for those commodities in your county's portion of the Jordan Lake watershed. All right. So as you can see in the NASS spreadsheet, we do not report every crop that's grown in the county. We only capture data for Jordan Lake reporting that comes from the National Agriculture Statistics Service, which is available. And that data that's available that we can also run through our nitrogen loss estimation worksheet accounting tool, or NLU for short, on an annual basis. To orient you to the spreadsheet, there's overall planted acres. Here we go. For corn, soybeans, and wheat. You may have sweet potatoes in your spreadsheet too. Tobacco and hay crops are listed as well. And for annual reporting, we are looking to capture annually reportable crop acres that were planted and received fertilizer. And for fertilizer, we are looking to capture both inorganic and organic fertilizer applications. And we're looking for total application in a crop year. So if one particular crop had multiple applications, we want to get what the full fertilizer amount that was applied to that crop for that specific year. And to the extent that the data is available, we want information on crops that were planted and harvested, as well as crops that were planted and failed, and the fertilization rate on those crops. For Jordan Lake reporting, we follow a standard cropland reporting methodology that was drafted when reporting first began. So this reporting methodology assumes percentages for the amount of certain crops that are grown in each of Jordan Lake's sub-watersheds. So that's the Upper New Hope, the Lower New Hope, and the Haw sub-watersheds. The methodology further delineates corn acres into percent of corn grown for grain and percent of corn grown for silage, as well as the percentage of corn that's grown for those two types, uh, and the management of it. So whether it's silage, no-till, silage conventional, grain, no-till, grain conventional. Soybean acres are categorized into full season and double crop beans. And the methodology for approximating the amount of crops that were grown in Jordan Lake subwatersheds and fall into further narrow categories based on use and management was established a long time ago. As a result, it may no longer be doing a great job at approximating crop acreage in your county's portion of Jordan Lake. If that is the case, please write a comment explaining what a better cropland reporting methodology would be for your county in the optional comment space here at the bottom of the spreadsheet. So, for example, perhaps the percentage of no-till corn grown should be increased, or double crop soybeans are actually only 70% of wheat acres instead of all of wheat acres. Whatever it is, this is your chance to, share that information. Methodology changes in crop acreage calculation may not be reflected in the near-term reporting. We're going through rule revision activities, and there might be some indirect consequences if we change any of our methodology for acreage adjustments or percentage adjustments, but we still want to know if you all think that this method of approximating crop and management in your county is still uh, relevant and appropriate. So please do not adjust the percentages or the acreage amounts in the spreadsheet itself. So don't adjust the values here or the percentage values in the different like sub watershed land, the different sub watershed acre information. Don't update that or the percentages in the columns with regards to no-till or conventional. But please do reflect any changes that you would like to see in the optional comment space provided. You will see in the optional comment space that I do occasionally include some prompting questions. You don't have to answer these, but they are useful to consider when you're thinking about the reporting methodology that we are following and whether it's still accurate in approximating your county's cropland activity in Jordan Lake subwatershed. So some of the questions that I might ask is like, is all of the corn in the county in the Jordan Lake portion of your county grown for grain? Any silage? If there is silage grown, how much? And is it fertilized at the same rate as corn grown for grain? Is the percentage of corn grown conventionally under no-till still accurate? Are the percentages of crops grown in the haw still accurate? Are double cropped soybean acres typically equal to the number of wheat acres in each subwatershed? So it goes on like that. Um, Answer those questions if you can. All right, so acres in each subwatershed are estimated by multiplying the total acres of a crop planted in the county by the percentage of that crop that is grown within the portion of the county that lies within one or more Jordan Lake subwatersheds. So acres of the crop planted, percentage of the crop grown in a Jordan Lake subwatershed. If you have multiple subwatersheds in your county with land in it, then you might have multiple columns here. So just keep that in mind. Your spreadsheet might not look exactly like this one. So you multiply this by this and then by management type for corn to get the acreage value. For things like soybeans, like you would multiply this acreage by the percentage here in order to generate a full season bean estimate. Um, and you'll see for this double cropped estimate, I do have a note in here, same as wheat acres, and it is referencing this. Um, it is referencing this cell, and so let's see. Yeah, it is referencing this cell down here, which is acres of wheat grown in the haw. So that is how it would calculate that. But since I don't have any wheat acres planted because that crop data isn't released yet, this cell isn't updating. So this cell is currently 0. So there might be some calculations in the spreadsheet that you have to look out for. And again, please don't mess with the percentages or the acre values in there. If you do see that there's changes that need to be made, include those in the comment space. So NLU, which is the tool that we use for estimating and tracking nitrogen and nitrogen loss reduction over time, has separate categories for capturing manured and double crop soybeans. So manured beans are not approximated in the standard methodology for cropland reporting in Jordan Lake. But if you do have any waste lagoon or pond closures from the Swine and Dairy Assistance Program or other programs, you might have manured beans that you need to report for this crop year or for future crop year reporting. So please make a note in the optional comment space section about any manured bean activity if you are aware of any in your county's portion of Jordan Lake. So the other columns that you're going to see in the spreadsheet are for fertilization rates. So the first is fertilization rates from last crop year 2023. Crop year 2023 extended from October 1 of 2022 through September 30th of 2023. The next column is fertilization rates that we're looking to capture for this reporting year. And this reporting year is crop year 2024. And we are looking for rates from October 1st of 2023 to September 30th of 2024. So we're not looking for rates that folks are applying right now. We're currently in crop year 2025 right now. So we're looking for rates of what people applied last growing season from October to September, ending September of 2024. Again, for some counties, you will have to fill in fertilization rates for your FSA crop spreadsheet as well as your NASS crop spreadsheet. So if there does need to be rate adjustments between the Jordan Lake parts of your county and the Falls and Neuse part of your county, then please do make changes between those spreadsheets, and please make sure that you update fertilization rate information for crops in both of those spreadsheets. All right, you will see in this spreadsheet, as I've maybe previously covered, little notes to try and explain things a little bit more. You'll also see this in the BMP spreadsheet as well. And if you have an FSA crop spreadsheet, you will definitely see this in there too. So do try and review those throughout the spreadsheet, read through them. I promise they are designed to try and help you and help explain the spreadsheet a little bit more. So for example, in this demo, I have a comment in there about hay acres, and this is just a reminder that there's no new acre data that's being published, but I am still collecting a fertilization nitrogen rate for hay. So, please to fill in that information. Again, we covered this, but some crop data hasn't been published yet, and so I'll be updating the spreadsheet when that is published. And so I might have a note or something in there about it. And then I might have some notes about what you should be considering about methodology changes, if there is still accuracy in some of the assumptions in your spreadsheet, as well in the optional comment space. So all of that is good information. All right, now we're going to go through the motions to fully complete this worksheet. So the first crop is corn. The percentage of corn approximated to be grown in the haw portion of the county is 95% and 5%. So 5% in conventional and 95% in no-till. If you didn't think these percentages were still accurate, you of course would write it in the optional comment space, but let's say that we think that they still are, so no worries there. So we're going to go over to the fertilization rates. So the last year's fertilization rate was 170 pounds of nitrogen per acre. And let's say that we talked to the regional agronomists, we might have talked to the extension field crops agent, we might have called a farmer or two. And if we did that, we might have gotten information that, okay, actually the corn grown for field, the field corn grown for grain was actually a little bit more fertilization. So we need to bump that up actually to 180 this year. And then the silage corn grown was fertilized even a little bit higher than it was last year, which last year's rate was 180. So we're going to bump that up to 200, again, based on those conversations that we had. All right, now we're down to hay. And you can see for hay, again, a helpful note there that there's no new acres data to be published, but I'm still collecting a fertilization rate, so we still do need to fill in a value in this yellow box. And let's say that hay was largely under fertilized this year. Folks were conserving their money, and they chose to cut back on fertilizing hay acreage on their land. And so that dropped down to about 60. So again, base these rates on consultation with field crop agents, regional agronomists, farmers. We want to capture as accurate of information as what folks were actually putting out for the year as much as we can. All right, moving down to the soybean acres. You can see here that we're in the soybean full season section. And for the most part, on average, there's some folks that were putting out a little bit of starter fertilizer on their beans, but most folks weren't. So on average, there was about 5 pounds of nitrogen per acre that continued to be applied on soybeans, full season soybeans this year. But double crop beans weren't fertilized at the same kind of rate with any starter. So that remained the same at 0. And then let's say that tobacco also largely was fertilized the same as last year. 85 was a good rate based on conversations with agents and farmers and agronomists. And then let's say for wheat, again, like with hay, folks were cutting back on fertilization for that. They were largely planting it as a cover after their tobacco, and they weren't fertilizing it to maximize yields. So they were maybe fertilizing it at a rate of 90 pounds of nitrogen per acre. And so with that, we filled out all of the yellow boxes in this spreadsheet. We didn't really have any comments to make. We didn't have any. All of our crops are grown in the haw in this example, so We don't think that there needs to be any changes to the percentages, and the no-till percentages were good. So nothing to be changed there. We were having we still felt that this comment here, 67% of corn grown for grain, 33% of corn grown for silage, um, is 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 still relevant. Not all of the corn is grown for grain. We are having some silage in this county as well, so we're going to keep that the same. So nothing to add in the optional comment space. I might just say no comments, just to say that and methodology to approximate acres and management, no-till versus conventional, still looks good. Just to say that, I looked at those questions, and I looked at the notes in the spreadsheet, and everything looked okay to me as it was currently written in there. So I will add that comment, and so I think I'm largely done. So let's go back through our instructions just to make sure that we have double checked everything. So review NASS crop data, we've done that. Again, we've noted that there are some unpublished crop acre totals, and so we might come back and look at those when our spreadsheet gets updated at a later date. We filled in fertilization rates for all the crops that were listed, and we reviewed the crop estimates that were in the spreadsheet, and we did write a comment to say that we looked at it, still looks okay. And then the last two instructions here is to look at the BMP's spreadsheet in our folder and to email Allie when both of the crop and BMP spreadsheets have been completed. So maybe we haven't completed our BMP spreadsheet, so we're going to that next, or maybe we have, in which case we're reaching out to Allie, the Division of Soil and Water Non-Point Source Planning Coordinator, to let her know that everything's done and completed for our county this year. So with that, we've concluded this example demo of filling out the National Agriculture Statistics Service NASS crop data report for county reporting for NSW strategies this year, specifically for the Jordan strategy. If you do have any questions at any point, please feel free to contact me, Allie Dinwiddie, at the email and phone number listed in the spreadsheet there. I'm always happy to answer questions. So thank you for watching this video.